If you love high-end Christmas decor but not the high-end price tag, you're going to love today's video. I've put together some of my favorite dollar store Christmas DIYs that look expensive, not cheap. These easy budget-friendly holiday crafts will give your home that Pottery Barn and Crate and Barrel look for a lot less. Whether you're decorating your tree, styling your mantle, or creating cozy vignettes, these elegant dollar store Christmas decor ideas will help you make your home beautiful on a budget. Don't forget to subscribe to DIYs with Sonia, hit that notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up if you love affordable high-end holiday decor ideas. Now let's jump right into these stunning Christmas DIYs. Now I am also going to be doing the exact same thing with these glass ears. Now this the coverage wasn't going on as well as with the other one, so this did need 2 coats. And this is what they look like after 2 coats of paint. If you are following along on my home channel, you probably saw that a lot of my new decor is black, and I wanted to incorporate some of that black into my Christmas decor as well, and I think these deers are a perfect addition to that. For my next DIY, I will be using black and bronze chalk paint, as well as these small little ornaments. I have seen these at Dollar Tree and at Dollarama, and I'm also going to be using some jute rope, or you can use twine. Now my ornaments did come from Dollar Tree, but like I said, I've seen them at any dollar store. And then I was going to use some sanding block too, but at the end I never ended up using it. So the first thing that I am doing is giving it a coat of a bronze spray paint, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the black spray paint to it as well, but not covering it fully. I am covering it more with the bronze, and then I'm just going to do little sprays of black on them. I wanted to create more of that aged look on them. I am really liking the rustic color, less rustic ornaments this year to go with some of the black accents that I will be using in my Christmas decor. So now I'm going to use that twine and cut it up to the length that I need it to be. I am going to be putting this on my large fireplace upstairs, so I wanted to make sure that it fits. So if you are doing this DIY yourself, you might want to measure out where you want this to go and cut the twine to that size. And then I'm taking more twine and cutting it into smaller pieces, about 2 inches. I'm going to use that to tie the ornaments to the other twine. Now I'm creating a loop at the end so that way I can hang this up, and I will be doing this on both ends of this rope. And I'm going to trim the piece hanging over from the loop. And then once I have my loops all set up, I'm going to start by adding the ornaments, and I'm tying the rope to the ornament, and then I'm tying the ornament to the rope. And I repeat this for all the ornaments, spacing them out somewhat evenly. You will be able to move them around once they are on the rope anyway, so it doesn't really matter if you space them out evenly right now. You can always adjust them later. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. My name is Sonia, and on this channel you will find tons of home decor DIYs from seasonal to DIY projects around the house, as well as just a general DIY decor. So if this is something that you think you might enjoy and you are enjoying this video, I would encourage you to press the subscribe button and notification bell so you get notified when I post new videos. I am starting my Christmas decor DIYs now, and I already posted a mega one. If you've missed it, it will be linked at the end, so go check that one out. That one will give you a ton of inspirations for your DIY decor. I just love the way this garland turned out, and I think it's going to look so good with my brand new cedar garland that I had just purchased at HomeSense. For my next DIY, I am going to be making over or upcycling my wreaths. I have had these wreaths for many years, and it was time to give them a new life. So I have some greenery that I was considering using, like this bunch of leaves, and then I also had some eucalyptus leaves that I was thinking of using, and then I also picked up some of these Christmas picks from Dollar Tree just recently, and definitely was thinking of using those. And then I also have these berries. Now I was trying to find black ones at Dollar Tree and I couldn't, and I did not want to go to Michael's and spend the money, so I will be spray painting these with the black chalk paint. I am giving them a light coat, so some of that red will show through a little bit, but I really like the whole look that it gave it. So if you don't want any of the redness to show, make sure you give it a full coat of spray paint. I am going to be cutting these this greenery picks from Dollar Tree into pieces. So I'm just taking each branch and cutting it off, and then I'm going to strategically place them all over the wreath. This is what I'm doing with all of them, and just spacing them out somewhat evenly throughout the wreath. I did have a pretty good pair of wire cutters, but my mother-in-law had borrowed them and I haven't had a chance to get them back from her. So I was struggling cutting these a little bit, but nevertheless, I did get them cut using scissors and smaller wire cutters. This was such an inexpensive makeover for these wreaths. It literally cost me $6 altogether, because I've had purchased everything at the dollar store, and some of the items that I did use, like the berries, and then I actually decided to use some pine cones as well, I had on hand. So I wanted to show you what it looks like, this wreath looks like before I added the berries with all the new greenery that I have added. It just made it look a little bit more fuller than what it was before. And now I'm adding 3 branches per wreath because I just wanted a touch of it without overwhelming it. And here is what that looks like with the berries. I think it was perfect, but I did feel at this time that I needed a little bit more, and so I went ahead and got my pine cones out and I added 5 per wreath. Now I wanted to also say that this is a bit of a high-end dupe because I did see several of these in HomeSense, very similar ones. So, and that's where I got the idea for the ones that I had at home already. And the ones at HomeSense were $39.99. So, and mine, because I had the wreath and then all the materials that I purchased came out to $6 per wreath, and I did 2 of these because I have two doors at the front. So here is what it looks like, and I can't wait to use it on my front door once I decorate my front porch. Well, I hope you had enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and a notification bell. And also don't forget to check out C's video as well as the playlist, which will be all linked down below. So I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye! And I think it looks really nice. I'm going to be working on this. Will last you for a while. You don't have to just use it at Christmas time, but I'm going to be using these 2 bowls, and I'm going to hot glue them together to the bottoms together to create a little bit of a tall bowl. And I'm just going to spray paint this with black spray paint in satin, and that will be it. It's going to be a nice bowl that can sit nicely on your coffee table with some ornaments on it, maybe some pine cones for winter decor, and just things like the roses for Valentine's Day. I mean, your decor possibilities are endless, and it's just a nice little kind of a designer dupe here, because you see a lot of these in expensive stores. For my next DIY, I picked up these cone-shaped ornaments at Dollarama. I think they were around $3.50. So and I absolutely love the shape of them. I'm not sure what the name for this shape of an ornament it is. If you happen to know it, leave me a comment down below letting me know. I will just call them cone shaped, and I give them a spray paint. I spray paint them with white chalk paint. You want to have a lighter spray paint color if you're going to be spray painting, because of the next step. You want the next step to show, and the lighter the color, the more it's gonna show. So once they were all spray painted, I went outside and I picked up some dirt. Yep, dirt it is. So we're moving on from cinnamon and baking soda to dirt. My dirt was quite moist. That's how you want your dirt to be. Mine is moist because it was frozen and now it thawed out, so it was a little wet. You don't want full-on mud, but you want it pretty close. I do end up adding a little bit of water for my next one, just because I found that as wet as it wasn't wet enough. So you take the dirt and then you just rub it all over the ornament, making sure to get into all the little crevices.
Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the windows in the rain.
Once I was done rubbing it, I took a clean brush and just brushed off any excess dirt that I did not want on there. And then I proceeded on taking my gilding wax and adding some gold. This is called I think it's called aged gold that I have, and I am just adding it into different spots of the ornament, rubbing it in with the paintbrush and my hand at the same time. This will create another dimension, give it even a more of a rustic look. The key to the dirt and to this wax is to rub it in.
We'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the windows and the rain is pouring. It will always be Christmas in my heart. But this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sanctuary. Doesn't matter, it's Christmas in my heart. Here we go. All right. Now this Christmas, we're gonna dance.
So I do love this look. I think it almost looks like it's old wood that was painted gold, or I don't even know, but they do give me the wood look vibe. So I repeat the same process for all the other two ornaments. Now you can be done at this point, or I went ahead and just gave it just light couple sprays of white at different sections. This blended it even a little bit more, and I just love the way these end up looking on my tree. I did end up adding some ribbon to them to hang them up. A bonus DIY because I had one ornament left over, and I just wanted to show you a different way that you can make the same Mercury glass type of ornament. It does end up turning a little different, but it's very similar. So I fill up a tray with water, then I do give spray of the glass spray, and then the bronze and the gold, but I'm also adding a walnut brown color because I just felt like it needed another color in there. Now I'm going to take that ornament and swirl it around. How much spray paint you actually spray in there depends on how well you want this covered. I did end up adding a little bit more paint because I did feel that I didn't have enough, so keep that in mind. So probably a bit more is better than less. And I think this ornament turned out very similar to the other ones, but I think the whole process was a little bit easier. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed these DIYs. I certainly enjoyed making them. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell if you have enjoyed this video, and let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments. So until next time, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching.
But you, these are the good times with you, baby. This year.
This next dupe was so super easy to make, and I think it looks really great, especially on your tier trays or a little tray, any tray or a shelf filler that you need. I am using these small frames that are 2 for $1.50 at Dollar Tree, and then I also picked up 2 of these Plaster ornaments that you can paint from Dollar Tree, and they were two for $1.50, so my total was $3. Set of two at Pottery Barn was $1.83. Now these are bigger, I give them that, but I still think that mine look very much the same, they're just smaller. So I took these plasters ornaments and I just cut off the hanging part, and then I also sanded it down just to round it up a little bit so it doesn't look rough where I cut it. I am leaving these the way they are with the wood. I am just flipping them around. I'm not even taking the white part off, where I sometimes take it off and I flip it and hot glue it. I'm just leaving them as they are, not staining them, and then I'm going to, once the ornaments are sanded down, I'm going to hot glue them to the frame. This was such a super easy DIY and inexpensive, and I think it has a high impact. I love the way they turned out, and like I said before, I think they came out pretty close for $4.50, and I could not be more happier. I could not spend $189 on two pieces of art anyways, no matter what size they are. On, you need some, I am using some of the drop cloth that I picked up at Dollarama, and the whole piece, I think it's 8 feet by 10 feet, is $4. And then I picked up these placemats from Dollar Tree for $1.50 each. So I'm gonna say the two of these pillows cost me $8.50, but I did not use all of the backing. The drop cloth, I only used maybe a quarter of it, and I'm going to be recreating this Christmas pillow. As you can see, it was $45 for one, and I'm going to be making two, and like I said, if I take into consideration the whole piece, cost me $8.50. Now you could also just purchase exactly the same piece or even a different one, so you can flip your pillows around. So I could have made one pillow out of these two and had two different looking pillows depending on how I feel each day, and flip the pillow around. Or you can buy the same ones and just glue the same ones together. Now I'm going to be using a hot glue to make this pillow. You can sew if you know how. I don't. So I'm going to cut my piece of drop cloth to about an inch longer on two sides. Now the reason for this is because I am using the edges of this cloth that are already sewn in, so they're thicker. So the two edges are like that, and then the two edges aren't. So that way I can create with that little bit over material that thicker edge. So once I am double cutting it, so I'm cutting two pieces at once, and then I'm going to hot glue this to the pillow, but only hot gluing the three sides, leaving one open so I can stuff it before I close it up. You can also make these as pillowcases if you have pillows that will fit inside that case. I didn't, but I did have pillow stuffing, so I use that. So I go ahead and I hot glue the thicker edges of the drop cloth to the placemats, and just line them up perfectly on both sides. For the shorter side that is cut, I am folding it over and lining it up perfectly, and then I'm going to hot glue that in. I am snipping the edge of the corner off just so I have a more of a cleaner fold. Now before I hot glue it completely shut, I do stuff it with some pillow stuffing. Now I do the exact same thing on this side where I folded, but this time I actually hot glued the fold together first. I was just worried that with the stuffing poking through and all this stuff, it was going to be harder to do it the other way, so I hot glued the fold first and then I hot glue it together. These pillows are so great, being that they are so inexpensive if you want to keep them on your front porch for decor. That way, in case your front porch gets snowed on and things like that, it's not too you don't feel too bad if they get ruined. I've never had a pillow get ruined on my front porch, and we do get quite a bit of snow here, but it's also not so bad if they get stolen for any reason. You don't feel bad that you spend $3 on a pillow versus $20-$30 that some of these pillows cost, or in this case $45. Did not go through the full tutorial on the second one, but I did make the second one as well.
Dressed in gold and red, garlands and ribbon thread.
I just love the way why we're starting off with some bells from Dollar Tree and a toilet plunge from Dollar Tree. I picked up 5 of these bells for $1.50. I'm located in Canada and we are at $1.50, and as you can see, they're a little bit different than the bells that I had made up before. These guys have a bit of a lip. And I'm going to be removing the greenery as well as the bows and berries off of them, so that way I just have a plain bell. And once everything was removed, I do take a cleaning wipe, almost like a degreaser, and give them a good cleaning, so that way I have no problem with paint going on them. And I'm going to be using metallic gold and satin black spray paints to make over these bells. I will be using the wood part of the plunger and then also some rope. Now the inspiration for this DIY is from Pottery Barn, and I was trying to recreate this look. Now I do know that the shape of the bells is a little bit different, but I think we can create a very similar look for around $10 instead of $283. So I went outside and gave the bells a coat of black paint, spray paint, and I just tried to spray it as evenly as possible without getting any drips. I wasn't going for 100% coverage. I just wanted to have a nice dark base. And then once I was done on one side, I flipped them and did the other side, and then I let them completely dry before I went in with my metallic gold paint. I picked up this paint at Michael's just because I was using my coupon. And I have to tell you guys, I absolutely love this color of gold. There's just something about it. It's so soft and nice looking. I was quite impressed. There's so many different variations of gold that I was worried, but I absolutely love that one. So here I'm just showing you that if you wanted to have that exact look, I have these little hangers from IKEA, and you could spray and paint them black, but then you would have to drill holes into the wall, or maybe if you already have these up, you could hang up the bells onto it. I am just going to use this piece of wood from the toilet plunger. I'm going to stain it with some paint and 2 different colors of paint. I just want to clean it up before that sticky part, so that way I can apply the paint evenly, and that way I can hang this up wherever I want. It's not restricted to putting screws into the wall. For the paint, I'm using a Dollar Tree black chalk paint, and I'm just going to dab a rag in it and rub it on. That way some of the wood grain that's on it will show through. I also want to mention that today's video is in collaboration with my dear friend Sandra from the Schwoman's Nest, or the DIYs at the Schwoman's Nest. I have known Sandra for a very, very long time off YouTube, and now we are obviously friends on YouTube as well. We used to be neighbors at one point, but now we live a couple streets over, and I love Sandra's channel. I think Sandra is one of the most creative people I know. Her DIYs are amazing. So if you have never seen Sandra's channel, make sure you head on over. I will have her channel linked down below for you to check out, and make sure you tell her that I have sent you over there. And if you're stopping by from Sandra's channel, welcome. My name is Sonia, like I said, and I'm glad that you're here. I hope you enjoy my DIYs, and make sure you let me know that you are stopping by from her channel. So once I was done with black chalk paint, I did go in again while it was still somewhat wet and applied some of the metallic gold acrylic paint, same way as I did the chalk paint, just rubbing it on and blending it in. This just made it look a little bit antique in my opinion. And make sure you paint the ends as well. So while I was painting that, my bells have dried completely, and now I'm going to be adding some ropes to them through the exact holes that the greenery was threaded through. Now on the picture, the rope is a little bit thicker, but that's okay. I'm just going to use what I have, and I love the look that it ends up turning out with that thinner rope. So all I'm gonna do is cut rope in 5 different lengths, so that way when I hang them up, they're all gonna drop down in different lengths. I'm going to thread the rope through the hole, tie it, and then that knot that I tied in, I'm going to thread it back through the hole, so that way it's on the inside of the bell. And then then I'll have a loop, and at the bottom of the loop I'm going to take another piece of rope and just wrap it around, so that way it gives it that look that the bells have on this picture that you can see. I repeat the whole process on all the bells, and then I take my piece of wood and hang them all up. You want to play around to see how they fit the best, or what you like the best in staggering the lengths. I absolutely love the way this turned out. I think the paint is perfect on them, and I am so happy for just $10 what this cost me in materials. Couldn't be more pleased. I picked up these Dollar Tree bells. They were $1.25. I'm pretty sure every Dollar Tree has these, and I'm going to be recreating this look, although I'm going to be using 3 bells, not 5, because I'm going to be making 2 of them. So I removed all the little embellishments that the bells had, and then I went in with again those 3 colors: spun gold, um, yellow gold, and then cinnamon. But I'm not going to be painting these. I tried painting them and I felt that the paint wasn't really going on as well as I would like. So I went in and then I ended up dabbing the paint on instead of brushing it on, which you will see in just a minute. And I had to work in stages for this. So I went first with the spun gold, and I only did the top part. The bottom part is a little bit flatter. So I let the bottom so I did the top part and then I let it fully dry before I did the bottom part, and then I repeated the same process with all the paints that I was adding, although I was mixing the next 2 paints together and dabbing them together at the same time. But I did do one half first and then the next half once it's dried. So this project did take a little bit of time, but the end result is so worth it. For past few years, I have been obsessed with decorating with bells, whether that's the vintage cowbells or just any gold rustic looking bells. And so I wanted to recreate this because I wanted to add something to my outdoor wreath, and which is another project in this DIY video that I will be sharing. And I wanted to spruce up my wreath, but I also wanted to add bells to it. So I decided to make my own to add to it. And I am obsessed with how all those 2 projects came together and how it looks on my front door. So once they were painted and dried, I went ahead and got some rope. I have just some twine, and I also have some thicker rope that I'm going to be using. And I wanted to make like a door hanger almost on with the rope. So I went ahead and I tied a loop, and then I went with a thicker rope and I wrapped it around and created a little bit of a longer loop at the top, just to kind of recreate that look that the bells or here had. And so that way I can hang them up on my door, I can hang them up on my banister, my mantle, wherever I choose to use them, if I choose to use them outside of my wreath. And as I mentioned before, I am grouping them by 3, and I'm making them 3 different lengths. So when you're cutting your rope, you want to make sure that it's cut different lengths, or that you tie a knot at a different length. And as I mentioned before, I just love the way these guys turned out. And I think it's such an inexpensive project to give you that high-end elevated look. Especially I I've decorated with these white bells before, but I am so feeling the traditional colors this year, along with some vintage and earthy tones, and that is what all of my decor in the house is, with some nostalgic pieces sprinkled in throughout. So if you ever want to check out how I decorate with all of these things, I do have a home channel where I share all that, and it's linked down below. So let me know what you guys think about these guys. So for my next project, I use this very expensive wreath for an inspiration from Pottery Barn. And this one is a little bit smaller, as I have, I think these are 10-inch round forms from Dollar Tree, but I needed a smaller one because I'm going to be using it on my home sign. I like to switch out the wreath that I use, and I needed one for there because I used the one that was originally there somewhere else in a house. So I went in my stash and I picked up all the berries that I had that were just for crafting. And then for the base, this you can't even see, but I wanted a bit of a solid base for the wreath. I use the pine needles, pine branches from Dollar Tree, and I just had glued them onto the wreath. Before I did that, I did take off some of the other branches off of a garland that I had, just to use to add a bit of a different textures. I am pulling these long ones. I did not end up using these. And then I also get the pine cones and the berries all ready for my wreath assembly. So once I had all of my embellishments ready, it was time to assemble the wreath. So like I mentioned before, I'm going to hot glue the branches on. This will create a base for my wreath. It took 5 of these to cover the whole wreath. So once that was in place, I took a berry garland. This is a garland that I've had for probably about 20 some years. I still use it on my family room tree all the time, but I had switched out my tree 2 years ago, so I have a much smaller one. And so I have a lot of these wreaths left, a lot of these garlands left over. So I'm going to add that one to it. I am just removing the end pieces that no longer have berries on them. I'm also removing some berries that were broken. And then I'm also going to clip off tips that don't have anything on them past the berries. I'm leaving the leaves on there as well and just spreading everything out. And now I'm going to hot glue the whole garland onto the wreath and it will cover the whole top of the wreath. The inspiration piece has lots of different berries, from large ones to small, the clusters of berries to smaller berries, from bright red to dark red. So that is what I'm trying to recreate here. I did end up adding another one, another smaller one in here, just because the first one didn't fully go around. So once it was on there, I went ahead and trimmed off any pieces that I did that were empty and just a little unnecessary twigs that were sticking out. Then I just shaped it the way I wanted to, and then I started with adding the other stuff to it. Whenever I'm working with a wreath this size, I like to add my biggest pieces first because I feel like this takes up the most space, and then I can kind of see where I can add all the smaller pieces as fillers. So guys, I would like to know, what are your colors for this year for Christmas? Are you going with traditional? Are you going with earthy? Are you mixing it all together? Are you going on the wild side and using a lot of different colors? I would love to know. I love Christmas decor. It is one of my favorite holidays to decorate for. And I love fall as a season to decorate for, but Christmas is definitely a holiday that I enjoy decorating for the most. And I transform my whole main floor into a Christmas wonderland. So let me know down below what your theme this year is for your Christmas decor. So once all of my berries were in place, I am adding my greenery picks in here, like my pine, I think I will add a little bit of cedar as well. I don't know whether I have spruce. I'm not 100% sure what exactly all of these are called. But anyways, I'm just adding them in, and then I'm going to finish it off with some pine cones. I did go ahead and grab a couple more pieces just to fill it in a little bit more. And I absolutely love with the way this turned out. And now we are moving on to my wreath. This might be familiar to some of you that have been around for a while. This was originally Michael's wreath that had a lot of stuff on it. A few years back, I took most of the embellishments off and added extra branches to it, like cedar, and then I also had some pine needles that I added to it and some blackberries, and it's been serving me quite well. But I wanted to spruce it up a little bit, as I've seen this wreath that I absolutely love. Now this one is from McGee Co, so I guess we do have one McGee Co inspiration here. So I wanted to kind of recreate it, but I didn't want to go out and spend money on a wreath, because this one was in a perfect shape still, and it's pretty good quality. I did spend about, I think they were about $50, but they did have buy one get one free at Michael's. But I'm talking about probably going back about maybe even 10 years ago. And like I said, it's still in a really good shape, so I did wanted to spruce it up a little bit and give it some new life. So I'm starting off with tying up the twine, and now I'm going to take this twine and just wrap it around and make it a fairly thick top. I'm also going to be adding some cedar picks that I have. These came from Temu, which I will show you in just a little bit. I was actually thinking about maybe adding some pine cones, some more pine cones to it, because it does have couple you just can't see. So I was thinking about getting a bit bigger ones and adding those, but I am not doing that in this video. That's something that I might decide to do. Do you guys use real garland wreaths? I did make a real wreath once and that I used on my side door, and I loved it, and it lasted me the whole season. I just went ahead and cut some branches out of my kitchen, out of my backyard, and use those. But I think I did share that on my channel, but probably looking back several years ago. I know you can buy them, but I just wanted to know, do you guys have a fake one, or do you guys use the real ones? I do love the look of the real ones, and it probably would save me some storage space, but I don't love spending the money every year. So make sure when you are tying these up that you leave yourself an end to tie it to. I kind of wrapped it in there, so I was just trying to tie it to a loop. So when I did my next one, I did leave an end. I am not sharing how I did the next one because I it's just a repetitive thing. So I'm sharing with you how I did just the one of them. So here I am adding the cedar picks. Like I said, these came from Temu. They were very inexpensive. I will link them down below. And what do you guys think? I think this is looking really good, and I think it's going to look absolutely spectacular with my DIY bells. Supplies that I had purchased. Some of the supplies I already had on hand. So this set of blue and silver ornaments came from Dollarama. They were $4 for the whole set. I will be only using the silver ones. I really wanted ones that had a bit of like dimension to them. And then I also picked up 2 sets of these, so 4 altogether. These are from Dollarama as well. Dollar Tree carries them as well. They're a little bit bigger. And then some other ornaments that I had picked had on hand were the flat ones that Dollar Tree sells. I got mine at Michael's last year on clearance. I think the whole box of them was like $7, but you can get them for $1.50 at Dollar Tree. So I'm starting off with the silver ornaments. I am outside, and I just filled this bottle with some water, and I'm spraying it well with water, and you want those driplets to be on there. And then immediately after, I'm going to take my spray paint, I'm using dark walnut. You can use black. I thought I was using black, but it was dark walnut and it turned out well. I don't mind the way they turned out at all. It did give me the look that I was going for. And then you let them dry, and that's it for the ornament. So you just want to give yourself some space from spray painting so you don't spray too heavy. And then I repeated the same project, same step with the rest of the silver ornaments. I also spray painted the tops of these ornaments with the same walnut color. I love how antique they turned out. It just elevated that silver look that they were. And I love how the little droplets show up on it. And I put some on my tree with some fancy ribbon, and then I just added some to my bowl of ornaments. Next, still working outside, I took the tops of the clear ornaments and I spray painted them with this antique bronze color. This spray paint came from your dollar store and more. Sometimes they have like odd looking colors, not your primary colors, and they are significantly cheaper there. I think I picked this up for $4 and I've used this several times already. I'm just using very little just for these caps here. You can do this with paint, just regular paint. You don't have to do this at all. You can just leave them silver. Black looks good as well. Some people have luck with rub and buff. I don't, but I don't actually have rub and buff. I have the antiquing wax, so maybe that's the difference. And now I'm back with this dark walnut satin color, and I'm spray painting two of these with that spray paint. As you can see, I struggled a little bit, so I put them in this container so they would not flip. So probably a good piece of styrofoam would work better. I cannot stand the sound of styrofoam, so that did not work for me. So I gave this a solid coat. You don't want to spray too long on one area because it'll drip. So we are now back inside, and once they were completely dry, I took out my crafting sponge, dabbed on a little bit of gold, and then I dabbed some of it off, and then I just sponged the whole ornament with that. I am using spun gold. You can use any gold you have on hand. So once it was completely covered, well, to the way I wanted it to, I took another sponge, crafting sponge, and this metallic brown color, and it's almost again like that bronzish color, and I proceeded to do the same exact process as with the gold. And once I covered the whole area again, I let that dry, and then I did the exact same thing for the other ornament. I think these turned out absolutely stunning. I just love the way they look. And again, I added the ribbon to hang them on a tree. For my next clear ornaments, I have had this tissue on hand. It is just tissue, white tissue paper. You can use any color you want. I really did want just white. And I'm going to tear it up, and we're going back to basics of crafting, and we're going to do some paper macheing. And if my memory serves me right, I hope I mixed up my paper mache mixture right. I just added some water into the flour. Once I had my tissue ready and my solution ready, I went ahead and started paper macheing. And if you've never done this before, you just cover either an area or the whole thing, and then you add your paper, and then you put more paper mache solution on top of it, and then you want to let it completely dry before adding more to it. And depending on what kind of a coverage you want, you can do two steps, or you can do more steps. I only did two, and I am so pleased with the end result. For next two DIYs, I'm going to be using the flat ornaments. I call them flat. You will see them in just a second. And for the first two, I'm going to use this Annie Sloan Old Ochre chalk paint. You don't need to use old chalk paint. This was the only beige looking paint I had. I was gonna use acrylic, but I did not have any beige color, so the chalk paint to the rescue. And then I'm also going to use ice cappuccino as well as brush gold acrylic paint, and you will need some of those crafting brushes again that we just used in the previous DIY. And for the caps, I will be just painting them with some gold color at the end. So the first step is to take the beige color and paint the whole ornament with that beige color. So once the ornament is completely painted, you don't want to wait for it to dry before you move on to the next step. So the next step is going to be to take your sponge. Now you can wet these, I did not, and dab them into the ice cappuccino, and then dab some off and just dab it, sponge it on the ornament. And you want to blend as you're sponging on because your other paint is still wet. And then you're going to repeat the same process with the gold as well before anything dries, so that way you can blend all the colors well together. I wanted my ornament to be a little of a lighter color. If you want it darker, I would go a little bit heavier with the darker color. And then while it's still wet, you take your flour and you cover the whole ornament with flour and you let that dry. And while that was drying, I went ahead and painted the same way my other ornament, and you will see how two of them turned out just slightly different. And that's the best part about making your own ornaments, not one is the same. So once it was dry, I took a clean brush, a bigger one, and just brushed everything, all the flour off. I like using the bristle brush for this. I think it works the best. So here is how that looks at this point, and now I'm going to put the cap on it and paint the cap. And here they both are on the tree. I think they turned out so nice. I just love the really different texture that they are and the look that they have. I'm using the same clear ornament, and I'm painting it with that ice cappuccino, the whole thing with it. And again, before you move on to the next step, you're not gonna let the paint dry. So for the next step, I'm going to take baking soda and I'm going to sprinkle it on, covering the whole ornament, and then you're gonna let that ornament dry. So once it dried, I brushed the baking soda off the same way as I did the flour, and then taking the same colors that I used for the previous ornament and just sponging them on. However, I'm obviously sponging on the beige color and the gold color and just blending them together. This is just to show you how using the same colors, what a different look it can give you. Just a couple different switching out couple different steps, and you get a completely different look, but still using the exact same colors, so that way you don't waste any colors that are left if you pour them into the bowl like I did. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed these DIYs. I absolutely love the way they all turned out, and they look amazing on my flock tree, which now consists of mostly DIY ornaments. If you guys do not know, I have a home channel where I share all my decorating that I do in my home, and the channel is linked down below for you to check out, and you can see how I showcase a lot of my DIYs that I make. For my next DIY, I picked these up at your dollar store and more, but I have seen similar ones at Dollar Tree as well. Now this is the one that is kind of an not a Pottery Barn dupe, but it is a high-end dupe. I've seen these all over Etsy shops, and Indigo has them for $40. I think they might be on sale now. And they're charcuterie boards. Now, I wasn't going to use mine on a charcuterie board. I'm sure you could if you used a proper sealer that is food safe. You could, but I just wanted a little wood board in the shape of a gingerbread man to go against the Christmas charcuterie board I have in my kitchen on a display. I couldn't find one anywhere in the store except, like I said, Indigo had one, but I'm gonna drop a picture of it here so you can see what that looked like. And I did not love the gold buttons that it had. I think at the beginning of the season I did see one at HomeSense as well, but I just didn't pick it up. So nevertheless, I proceeded on making one myself. So I removed all the buttons and the little bow ties, and I'm obviously going to remove the price tags. And like I said, I got this for $1.30, I think it was, at your dollar store and more, or with more. It's a dollar store it's almost like, I would say, comparable to Dollar General in US. And the reason why I picked up two is because I wanted it to be thicker. And so where I had removed all those buttons and bow tie, I am going to glue those two sides together using wood glue and hot glue gun. My wood glue is a little bit thick, so I am using a brush to spread it around, and the little lid was all clogged up anyways. And the hot glue is just there to keep it in place, to give the wood glue time to cure and set. And I'm using little clamps just to hold it together for a little bit. So I will be using the very thin special walnut stain. It is a stain that I have on hand and I like. You can use any stain. You can even use watered down paint if you want. I think you're going to get a very similar look. I am not going to seal this again because, like I said, I'm not using it for anything other than just display. My stain was a little bit thick. I've had it now for almost a year and I haven't used it, so I did decide to put on some gloves. Probably should have put on both of my hands, but just so my fingers don't get too stained. And I really like this technique. I think it shows, even though this is like particle board, it's not really wood. It shows all the little wood grains that it has, and you just want to go in that direction. And I love how simple this project was. I love the way it turned out. It was exactly what I was looking for, and I think it's gonna look great in my kitchen, and it cost me $2, $3 tops. And I did decide to stain both sides and then also the sides as well. What do you guys think? I think it looks perfect. For my next DIY, I picked up this snowflake at Dollarama for, I think it was $1.50. But I do know that, yes, I do know that Dollar Tree carries them similar snowflakes as well. And I saw an inspiration at Kirkland's. And even though this wasn't overly expensive, I think we can do it for a lot cheaper. Everything else, all the materials that I used to complete this project, I had on hand. So really this only cost me $1.50 plus tax. So once I had that pesky tag taken off, I am going to leave the rope on just because I'm not sure whether I'm going to hang it up or just lean it up against something. So I just wanted to have that option. So I went out and I spray painted with Rust-Oleum chalk paint in white. And I just gave it a decent amount to cover everything. And once that was dry, which did not take very long to dry at all. So here it is, as you can see, it's all painted. I only did the one side. I brought it in now. At this time, I thought I was going to sand off the distressing, because on that snowflake, it was distressed. It had like parts that were kind of sanded off, but this was not working for me. So I decided to use warm beige acrylic paint and dry brush it on all the edges or wherever I felt like it needed to be brushed on. So I tried two different brushes. The first one did not work the way I wanted it, so I ended up getting this other brush that was more flat and kind of fanned out, and that worked much better. I don't think the warm beige was showing very well on the camera. Even here you can see it a little bit, but not as much as I would have liked it. But I think it gave the snowflake some dimension, and I love the way it turned out. So simple. This next DIY is probably one of my favorites besides another one of my favorites besides the bells. And we've all seen these Christmas trees. This particular one I saw at Kirkland's, and they are for about 16-inch one. They are about around $40 US. I know the Pottery Barn has their own version. I think even Bath and Beyond, if you have a store like that. We don't anymore. Has one for around $40 as well. I picked this up for, I think it was $3 or $4 at Dollarama, and I ended up painting it with that warm beige and cinnamon bun acrylic paint. I mixed those two together, and then the second coat I did add some baking soda to it, just to add a little bit of texture to it. So once it was dry, I did want to remove that price tag off of it. So like I said, this came from Dollarama, and it was $3, not $4. So I don't know if you can see on camera very well, but there is a ton of texture from that baking soda. Now I'm going to take my hot glue gun and add design. You can use puffy paint if you have some. I did not have any, so I just use my glue gun and it kind of created the same look. I did this several years back and I made gingerbread houses using the same technique, so I figured I could use it again. You just have to make sure that you don't have any of those stringy flyaways that the hot glue gun causes. So I tried to follow the same pattern as it was on the dupe, the piece that I was duping. And then I went in once the hot glue gun has dried. Once the hot glue has dried, I went in with old ochre from Annie Sloan. It's chalk paint, and I just went over it. And here I am trying to remove those little stringy things. So I just went over all of the glue, and then I'm going to go in with a different paintbrush, and just fill in so it looks like there's a fallen snow on it. Just thicken up in certain areas. I also covered the little dots with the paint as well, because that's what the picture was showing. It almost seemed like there was maybe some shimmer to it as well. I did not add any shimmer to mine because I'm not the shimmer kind of person, but you totally could add a little bit of glitter while the paint's wet and just sprinkle some on it. I think that would work quite well as well. So this was fairly easy to make, and I think this was very close to the piece that was at the store. And like I said, mine cost me $3 plus tax, and that one was $40. What do you guys think? Did I do a pretty good job in duping this piece? We've all seen, this is not necessarily a price dupe, it's more or less finding them in store. You've all seen the flocked ornaments, everybody has them. McGee Co has them, Pottery Barn has them. These are more pricier, but you can also find them at Michael's. I haven't been able to find them at HomeSense. We do not have Target or Hobby Lobby. So I wanted brown ones. I did find beige ones and black ones at Michael's, but I could not find brown ones. And to get the flocking material, it is so expensive to get it shipped to Canada. I've found them on Etsy, and I think for one color it would cost me over $30 for a little bag of it. So I've been trying to figure out a way to create these without the flocking, and this came pretty close, and I was quite happy with the way it turned out. So I started off with spray painting the ornaments. I had these flat ornaments on hand. I bought those on sale 2 years ago at Michael's. So they had come in handy for creating DIYs, and I didn't want to go out and buy some more because I want to use up some of my stash. So this is why I'm using the flat ones, but this would work for round ones as well. They sell lots of them at Dollar Tree. I'm using dark walnut. Again, I want to create that brown, although this dark walnut was a little bit darker, but it worked really well as a base. And then while I was spray painting, I also took the lids and I spray painted them with that metallic gold paint that I just used for the candle holders. And I think this just gives it that more of a high-end look. If these are painted, you can also use a rub and buff on them, or I haven't had luck with just going straight with acrylic paint. I find that it doesn't really stick on, so I always like to spray paint a base color, and then if you still want to add more color to it, a little bit of a different color, you can go in and it makes the paint stick a little better. Now, if you have seen a lot of my DIY videos where I create these type of ornaments, I usually put the flower directly onto the wet paint. But I watched a video on Instagram, I believe, and she was saying to let the paint dry completely, then then spray, get the ornament wet with water, uh, and then add flour. This way, the flour is not gonna cling on to paint and pull it off, which happened to me before, even when the ornaments were dry. If there was just a little patch of maybe a wet bubble or something, it would pull the paint off. So this just makes sure that that paint stays on there. So I did this. I took just a spray bottle, sprayed it. You could also just wet them um, with a brush or just run them over the water, I guess, too. You could do that as well. It looked like the water was sliding right off, but the ornaments were wet. So I was able to get that flour to stick there. And you want to let this completely dry. And with it being water, you could tell uh, when it was dry and when it wasn't dry. So once they were fully dry, I took a dry brush. This could be just any brush as long as it's dry, and just brushed all the flour off. Now, once I felt that all the loose flour was off, I went ahead and took some of my brown paint from Dollar Tree. It's an acrylic brown paint. I think it's called milk chocolate, I believe, and then just dabbed it with a wet sponge on. And this gave it that almost felt texture, which the flocked ornaments have. So as you can see, the base color didn't really matter in this case. You probably could have just sprayed it with water and then went ahead with flour, because the paint was completely covering it. Now you could also just leave it, uh, brush off some more flour off and leave it, and that would give you a different look as well. So lots of choices here, and of course the color is also a choice. So I went with brown because that is what I wanted. Now I was finding that the brown was a little, I want to say, maybe a little darker, or too brown. So I am going to be adding a little bit of white to this as well. I was just trying to get it as close to the color that I had on my mind that these should look like. I just love the way these turned out, and I can't wait to use them on my front foyer tree, as I'm changing the whole look of that tree this year. For my first DIY, I got a ton of bottle brush trees. Some I bought, some I had on hand, and also this board that I had on hand, because we are going to be recreating this lit bottle brush tree centerpiece from Pottery Barn. It goes for about $183, as you saw. Now, some of these bluish green bottle brush trees, I don't love the colors, so we're going to spray paint them with some metallic gold. I did pick up some beige bottle brush trees from Dollar Tree, and I think this gold will complement that color really nice. While the bottle brush trees were drying, I hot glued some deer moss onto the board off camera, and then I took the board out and spray painted with some dark walnut. Now starts the fun part, is hot gluing these trees to the board. So these are the beige trees that I picked up at like a taupe color at Dollar Tree. I absolutely love them. I thought that they looked quite high end. McGee Co even has ones that are a little bit sitting on like a pedestal, but they're pretty much look this exactly the same. and I picked up 3 of those. Then I had the rest of them on hand, and I just tried to add variety. The At Pottery Barn you can get all just gold, or you can get ones that have a variety of different colored bottle brush trees as well. So that was my inspiration for mine. Since these were the same, I had 3 of these that were the same color and the same size. I spaced them out evenly, and then I'm going to fill in with all the rest of them. Once they were all on, I added some small battery operated fairy lights to them. I love how these all came together. It gives you that earthy, rustic vibe that my decor is all about this year. And if you want to see how I'm going to style with these, make sure you are subscribed to my home channel where I share all of my decorating videos. My next project, I picked up this wooden tree. I think it's beautiful as it is, a little bit too much sparkle for my liking, but it was coming off just by rubbing it. So if you don't like the little sparkles, little glitter, you could just take it off. I don't think it was even as much of a glitter as it looked like crystal sugar was on it, but nevertheless, it was still sparkling, so I wanted to, or glittering, I wanted to take that off a little bit. But like I said, the tree looked really good as was, but I had something in my mind that I wanted to do with it. So if I want to, I'm gonna go pick up another one like this and leave it as is. So I got some cinnamon brown and painted the whole tree except the bottom, actually even the bottom part, this with this cinnamon brown, because I wanted to recreate this gingerbread tree. I absolutely love the way this looks. Now, I could have picked up a very similar looking tree at Dollarama as well that kind of went to the ground and looked more like a ceramic decor piece versus more of the rustic look that this tree has. But I did love the way this tree looked. So I thought I can combine best of both worlds and do this one in that gingerbread tree look. It did only need one coat of paint to cover it all. And then once the paint fully dried, I went in with some puff paint and created a design. I found that this was so much fun to create, and I absolutely enjoyed making this project, so much so that I am thinking about going and getting some more things to add the puff paint to. here it is. I just love the way it turned out. For my next project, I am remaking one of my projects from last year. I had made several of these bells and I found I wasn't quite using them, so I decided to take one of them and redo the look. There, I have found several different websites that had these bells. The one was this one, which was about $30, and then I also saw them on Pottery Barns, although they were sold out. And so I don't quite know how much they were. Mine was one of those bells that you can pick up at Dollarama or Dollar Tree. Sometimes they vary in the shape that they come in, but they're all pretty much the same size. So to create this look, you're going to need some thin rope. You can use thicker rope as well if that's what you want. I opted for thinner rope because that's what it looked like on the picture. And then I just wrapped it around and I went in a couple rows of it. You want to try and space them out evenly. I tried my best without actually measuring. You could also measure so that they're spaced out evenly. And then I mixed up some white acrylic paint with some cornstarch just to make it thicker. If you have some chalk paint, you could use that. I just wanted it to give it a good coverage and also give it a little bit of texture. And then I painted the whole piece with this paint, and it needed 2 coats. This was such an easy DIY, and I think it turned out great, and it's gonna look great in a little Christmas vignette, as part of a little Christmas vignette, or styled on a shelf. Next project, you're going to need some sort of a Bristol board. I am using one that I had on hand, and I'm going to cut out some strips out of it, 2 strips, because we are going to be making this brass bow tree topper from McGee Co. It retails for $22 US. I wanted to make this for such a long time, and I was trying to figure out the best way to do it. And then I did see Evelyn Hernandez do a similar look, so I thought I'd try it out. I try it out myself. So I am going to you could measure it so it's exactly the same size as the McGee Co inspo. However, I just eyeballed it. I did not need it to be the same size as that one. I really liked the look of it, and that is what I was trying to recreate. So I just took a piece and then I twisted it so that way the 2 ends meet, and then I into a bow, and then I did that with another piece. And so I took the one strip and I made sure that they are cut the same size. So one will be a little bit longer and that one will be your bottom, and then the shorter one will be your bow. And then you assemble the bows individually, and then you put them together, and then you put the hanging pieces on it. This was so easy to make. You could make even ornaments like this, make them a little bit smaller. You can make them even bigger. It's all up to you. That's the beauty of making things yourself. You can customize them and make them fit your style or your needs. And you can also paint them or put rub and buff or whatever you want on them. They don't have to be the gold. You can paint them any color you want them to be. So now it's time to assemble it. So I'm going to put these two pieces together, and then I'm going to add the hanging pieces. I also cut a little diamond shape to fit right over top of where they were overlapping, because on the original piece, it did have, the one from McGee Co, it did have a little, it looked like a little piece on top. So that is what I am adding here. And then I took it outside and I spray painted with my bronze color, as well as this is antique bronze. And then I also spray painted it with some metallic gold. Then while it was still wet, I brought it inside and used a craft sponge just to blend the paint all together. And once it was dry, I added a little bit of hot glue and craft wire to the back of it, so that way I can attach it to the top of my Christmas tree. You could also add a clothespin to it if you would like. I just love how easy this was to make and how beautiful it looks on top of my tree. I have been obsessed with juniper berries this year, but they are impossible to find in my where I live. You can get them on Amazon.com from a floor, but they do not ship to my um, to Ontario. Pottery Barn also has some as well, which are a little too expensive for me. So I decided to make my own. So I went to search for some stems that I can use to recreate this. So I picked up these two stems, two different stems. One is looks a little bit frosted because originally I was thinking of using those berries. And then the other one was just a variety of cedar branches with some red berries and some pine cones. So I needed to disassemble everything and create my own. I did decide to make three of these, and I ended up using all the branches, even the frosted ones, but I did not use any pine cones or berries. So here is what they look like. I wish the branches were a touch more droopier, but we can shape them and mold them if that's what we want. I also left the long stems on them because I'm just going to bend them if I need to add them to a shorter vase. I also remember I had some loose cedar branches from a garland, and I added those as well. That gave me a bit of more of a droopiness that I was looking for. Since I decided that white berries were too long, was going to make my own using some air dry clay that I had left over from the daycare when we were making Mother's Day presents. So I just wanted to warm up the clay in my hands, and then I just made ones that were not a lot smaller than the white berries, but definitely smaller. And I just rolled them all into little balls. I think I made altogether about 30 of them. However, I think I did not use three of them, so I used 27 altogether. Then I took all of the blue paints that I had, trying to figure out a color that would work the best for these berries. I did end up mixing a couple different colors just to achieve the look that I was going for. I did not wait for these to fully dry before I went ahead and did that. I was going to use this stick to put the berries on for painting, but it was too big, so I just ended up rolling them in the paint. And I forgot to mention that I also got some sugar, just normal sugar. And once I was done rolling them in the paint, I dipped them into sugar. So it gave them a little bit of that frosted look. And then I repeated this process for all of them. A little time consuming, but so worth it. And then I went ahead and I had glued them onto random spots onto my branches to I did look at the picture just to kind of get an idea how the juniper berries were on those faux branches, and I was trying to recreate that look. So here they all are on the branches, and I did allow them to dry fully before I proceeded to the next step. I wasn't planning on doing a next step, but the more I was looking at them, I felt like the blue needed to be tamed down a little bit. So once they were fully dry, I went in with some white paint and just added and a small brush and just added a little bit of white paint to um to them just to tone down the blue a little bit. I think these turned out so pretty, and for under I think it came up to about $11. I can't complain. Now, to add even more twinkle to my DIYs, I am going to be recreating these LED faux branches from Pottery Barn. These are quite expensive for set of 6. I will be creating set of 4 just because I did not need 6 of them. I was thinking of painting the branches black, but then I decided just to leave them as they are. They are just clippings from my garden. And then I'm also going to use some lighting. I picked these lights, LED lights from Dollarama for $2.50. They are on a timer as well. So I thought that's a great thing because I can just place them, turn them on, and forget about them. And to attach them to the branches, I'm going to use craft wire that came as close as possible to the color of the branches. I cut up about 12 little pieces of wire and used pretty much the all 12 for the 2 branches. And I'm going to be adding one set of lights for both branches, so kind of adding them together. Now to add the lights to the branches, I'm going to unravel the lights. I'm going to put them as close to the stick, going up and down the sticks as possible. And every inch and a half, I'm going maybe 2 inches, I'm going to wrap the wire around. So that way this will keep the lights in place, flush up against the branches. The nice thing about these lights, the wire that they are on, is that it's bendy and you can shape it and you can even wrap it around the branches.
Spend this day with you. So beautiful, kissing on a mistletoe, baby, with you. Ooh, and in a while we're gonna go inside and drink our chocolate.
Now, when I get close to the end of the first stick, I'm not going all the way down because it's not necessary. Because that's going to be the part that's going to be submerged in a vase. Now, if you wanted to put these in a clear vase and you still wanted the inside of the vase to be lit up, then I would just continue all the way to the bottom, but then you might not have enough for the second one. So I would just go back up again and rewrap the whole branch and then just do a separate light for the next branch. I am, however, going to just use them in my vases along with my the greenery stems that I have, just to add a little bit of lighting to the vase. So I didn't need to go all the way to the bottom. And then I repeat the same way of attaching the lights to the second branch as I did with the first branch. I think they look so nice in the vase. And like I said, it just adds that little bit of a sparkle to my vases, a little bit of whimsical touch, especially in the evenings when all the lights are off, and it just makes the whole space look cozy. Like I said, I attached them to two different, I added them to two different vases in my decor.
Cause all I want is to spend this day with you.
For my next project, I picked up these tapered candles and I love the little design on them. They have stripes at Dollar Tree. And then I got some hot water. I did boil it and let it cool off. And I'm going to be making these Christmas tree candles. I let this sit in the hot water for maybe 45 seconds, and then I took a knife and I just made cuts. Now you want to make these cuts fairly deep. If you want them to lift up, you can just curve your knife up and they will lift up a little bit, or you can just go straight up, so that way they are just cuts without lifting too much. I did have to put these in as I was working with them, just to melt it a little bit more. As it cooled off, it went hard as a wax would. So I just went and did this all from the top to the bottom, doing these cuts. I think these turned out really cute. Definitely worth trying out. I probably next time wouldn't lift them up as much as I was lifting them here, but I am planning on making more as I love them. Love the way they turned out. I styled my coffee table with these in my living room.
Time of the year, drinking hot wine by the fire. Here on our own, we got nothing.
I have another easy project. If you watched my 2 weeks ago DIY, you might have seen this print. I will share it down below if you want to do this yourself. So I printed it off. I made the design and I printed it off, and then I took some coffee grounds and I added some hot water to them. I did have to strain these because when I first started painting with the coffee, there was a little bit too many coffee grounds on it. If you have instant coffee, this probably wouldn't happen, but I did not have instant coffee. And I'm trying to recreate some of these paintings, prints that you can buy all through different websites. Etsy is probably one of the most popular ones, and a lot of people add them to really nice vintage frames. So it's not about it being expensive. I just think I can create it for pretty much free with items that I have on hand. Like I said, I made this design myself, so that didn't cost me anything. And the frame that I'm going to be using is an old frame that I'm going to just upcycle a little bit, make it look a little bit more vintage. So I painted the whole picture, including the Christmas tree with this coffee, and this just gave it that vintage look, that aged look. So I painted the picture with a foam brush, and then I went in with my craft sponge and I just dabbed everywhere just to blend all the brush strokes.
It's Christmas and some kind of love, my friend. Pick up some candy canes and hang a wreath on your door.
While that picture was drying, I got my frame and I added some rub and buff on it all over. I went in all over that, especially into the little roses that were on the frame, just to really have it pop.
It's Christmas, outside snow's glistening. It's just you and me tonight. It's just you and me tonight. It's just you and me tonight. I'll spend all this Christmas with you.
So once I had most of the frame covered, I went in with some of my spun gold, and I just touched up in certain spots, not all over the place, just in certain areas, just to give it that little bit of a uh, what would it be called, a vintage depth. And then to finish the frame up, I added a little bit of black in just certain spots, and I just dabbed it on with my craft sponge, sort of to blend it in. And I did dab it into the paint, and then I dabbed it off onto the box just to so I don't have a big blob of paint.
Merry Christmas, baby. Reindeer's coming out to play. Santa Claus is packing the presents, making sure you've been behaving okay.
And then while the frame was drying, my picture was all dry, and I just went in with my hand and just rubbed off any of the coffee grounds that might have ended up there. They just fell right off. And then I took Mod Podge and I just brushed it over the tree area mostly, so it looks like it was an actual painting. The tree was actually painted on.
Merry Christmas, honey. Yeah. The snowman's dusting off his hat, putting on the show for everybody to give him
I think this is such a great way to add a vintage decor into your home without spending the money that some of these items might cost altogether. I hope you found tons of inspiration in these dollar store Christmas DIYs that don't look cheap. If you did, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more high-end look for less holiday decor ideas, and share it with a friend who loves decorating on a budget. I'll have more Christmas DIYs, dupes, and decorating inspiration coming your way all season long, so stay tuned. And until next time, happy creating.